Your pup won't stop pulling. Your pup lashes out at other dogs while on a walk. Or the absolute worst, your dog stops at every tree to take a whiff.
Well, don't stress too much because some positive reinforcement on your walks will be the most peaceful time of your day. Samantha Esquivel from the Humane Society of Southern Arizona is going to give us Leash Training 101. Is that what we need?
Let's do it.
All right.
What do you need, especially with this
Especially with this guy.
Yeah.
Definitely not the case here. This is Scotty, and he is 5 years old, and he was brought to the Humane Society as a stray about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So he hasn't been there a super long time. And when he came in, his 2 front teeth were completely broken. He was definitely underweight. He's gaining weight now, so that's good. But if you pet him, you can still feel his spine, which is like the worst thing ever on a dog. So we need to get him to eat some more, and he likes to eat, so that will go hand in hand. So we are just looking to get him into his forever home right now.
And how is he getting along with other dogs?
So before I took him to come to the blend today, we had just put another dog in his kennel, and the entire time his tail was wagging, and he was really interested in meeting her. So her name is Lola, and she is up for adoption as well, obviously. So he gets along great with other dogs, he gets along great with kids, and overall, he's a little bit shy. I know you guys saw initially he was kind of cowering down.
Yeah.
But this is what he is. He's a love bug. He's got a great temperament, and so he just needs to get into a permanent home.
Oh,
and I also want to mention really quickly that adoption fees right now at the Humane Society. So since he's an adult dog, 5 years or over, will have a $25 adoption fee. Dogs and cats under 5 years will have a $50 adoption fee.
Gotcha.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about leash training,
Yes.
because I've seen dogs that are amazing on a leash, and then I've seen dogs that are a nightmare on a leash. How is there such a vast difference between the dogs and a leash?
Well, it just depends on the training. So, of course, you're going to want to start when they're really young, and as you guys mentioned earlier, positive reinforcement. But you want to make leash training something fun. You don't want to make it something tedious. So you have to think about what your pet's currency is in their mind. So is that toys? Is that treats? Is that a special piece of cheese that they really, really like? And so as soon as they get into the rhythm of, oh, this is fun, I'm going to go out, I'm going to exercise, it becomes much easier. And I always recommend that you start off using not a harness, or a harness, but not one of the choker harnesses.
Okay.
And that's just because it doesn't associate well in a dog's mind. They kind of associate it with pain, which isn't good. And studies show that when you're using a shock collar or a prong choker, that your pet will resort back to its original behavior.
Wow.
That makes sense.
That's a lot of information.
I wouldn't want a choke collar if someone is teaching me like how to walk. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, and it just isn't positive, and so of course in their mind they're going to associate it with something negative.
And so what if they are pulling all the time? Where do you start? What if it's not a puppy?
So if it's not a puppy, see what your comfort zone is. So I always recommend using a harness, and that's because if your dog does like to pull a lot, it's not going to be pulling on their esophagus. Say that you just use a regular collar. So it takes a little bit of stress away from that, but also it gives you better control of your pet. So if you're walking along, I usually always have my dogs on my right, especially if I'm walking out where there's cars, just so they don't jolt out into traffic. And so you're holding your pet, right? And you're going to want to make sure that you are gentle with them. You're not going to want to jerk them right away, because if you're jerking them right away, it's going to kind of stir them up a little bit, and it's stressful as well.
Okay, so gentle.
Gentle
And positive reinforcement.
Positive reinforcement, treats, being gentle, and like I said, I don't recommend shock collars, and I don't recommend the little prongy collars either.
You have an event coming up.
We do. So we are starting the countdown to our Putting on the Dog event. It is our biggest benefit that we have every year, which is taking place May 2nd at the Hilton El Conquistador. So you can buy your tickets right now at hssaz.org. We are going to have a live and silent auction. We're going to have a lot of food, a lot of drink, and I'm going to be helping MC it, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely get your tickets now.
Cool. Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah.
And can they adopt dogs at the event?
That's a great question. You cannot adopt pets, but you can bring your dog along.
Oh, fun.
So it's a people pet event.
Well, Samantha, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Scotty,
guys.
such a pleasure. Look like a very ferocious dog.
I know.
What a cutie. If you'd like to open your home to any pet, pay the Humane Society a visit. They're located on Calvin, northwest of Country Club and Fort Low. They're open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 to 6 and Sundays noon to 5. If you want to call ahead, their number is 327-6088.
Well, coming up on the Morning Blend, women, have you been drinking your 91 ounces of water a day? Samantha? How about 1 to 25 a day? Probably not, but we'll tell you what might be happening when you don't.
Plus, we'll tell you where you can catch this man's film about a relative with a fighting heart right after the break.